The readings for Saturday, February 4th. The epistle reading is from St. Paul's second letter to Timothy, chapter 2, verses 11 through 19. This is a faithful saying, for if we died with him, we shall also live with him. If we endure, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. If we are faithless, he remains faithful. He cannot deny himself. Remind them of these things, charging them before the Lord not to strive about words to no profit, to the ruin of the hearers. Be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But shun profane and idle babblings, for they will increase to more ungodliness, and their message will spread like cancer. Hymenaeus and Philetus are of this sort, who have strayed concerning the truth, saying that the resurrection is already past, and they overthrow the faith of some. Nevertheless, the solid foundation of God stands, having this seal: the Lord knows those who are his, and let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity. All right, got some footnotes from the Orthodox Study Bible. So for verses 8 through 13, so a couple verses before where we started today, few verses actually. Feel free to read those in your own apps or Bibles to get some context here. But for verses 8 through 13, it says this is the footnote, is how it's written. Verses 11 through 13 may be an early baptismal hymn. Ministry is based on union with Christ and immovable loyalty to him. The end, for the minister and his hearers, is life with Christ in the eternal kingdom. For verse 15, the last phrase of this verse is quoted in an Orthodox liturgical prayer for the bishops. For verse 16, profane and idle babblings, like nonsense syllables, is an apt description of heresy. Couldn't agree more. For verses 17 and 18, what is the heresy of Hymenaeus and Philetus? Perhaps a super-spiritual interpretation of the resurrection in verse 18 as affecting only the soul and not the whole person. Greek philosophy thought bodily resurrection absurd. Thus, resurrection is thought to be already past, having occurred at baptism. They used the language of baptism, but in a non-orthodox way. Let us not be naive. This sort of novel doctrine can spread through the community like cancer, as noted in verse 17. Yeah, it's pretty interesting that all the way back in the first century, even, just a few decades after Christ, they were still having the same problems, with heresy and misinterpretation and whatnot that we have now. That this, people think the New Age is something new, and it's not. It's, in terms of something my priest said to me once, he said, there are no new heresies. We just keep thinking of creative new ways to commit them. One way to look at it. The gospel reading is from the book of Luke, chapter 18, verses 2 through 8, saying, there was in a certain city a judge who did not fear God nor regard man. Now there was a widow in that city, and she came to him, saying, get justice for me from my adversary. And he would not for a while, but afterward he said within himself, though I do not fear God nor regard man, yet because this widow troubles me, I will avenge her, lest by her continual coming she weary me. Then the Lord said, hear what the unjust judge said. And shall God not avenge his own elect who cry out day and night to him, though he bears long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he really find faith on the earth? It's a good question. Got some footnotes now from the Orthodox Study Bible. Just a couple. So for verse, actually, just one footnote. So for verse 8, will he really find faith on the earth? This question, the Lord often uses this form of question when speaking of characteristics that are rarely found. See chapter 11, verse 11, and chapter 12, verse 42. Well, that's going to do it, everybody. Hope you all have a good and blessed weekend. I have traditional weekends again, Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if you could tell from my recordings past that I did not for a little bit there, but I have since gotten out of that job. So I, for one, am happy to be starting my weekend on a Saturday, as hopefully most of you are as well. If you work service industry or whatever else, though, I get it. Totally understandable. Nevertheless, make it count. Go to Vespers, obviously go to liturgy. And I will check back in with you guys tomorrow for the readings then. Please pray for me, a sinner, and take care of yourself.